What is going on, guys? Hope you guys are doing well. Got some Frontlines gameplay for you on 4th Day Vo, playing more of the Road to Battlefield 5 playlist lately. And this game here was a pretty close game. It spawned in about a couple of minutes. The enemy team had us push back and almost got our final telegraph, but was able to push them back to their home telegraphs and make a game out of it. But before I get into more about this gameplay, I want to talk about Rush not being there at launch for Battlefield 5. I'm sure you guys have seen the tweet that Battlefield tweeted out almost 2 weeks ago now, where they were sharing the games that would be there at launch and said get debriefed on some of the Battlefield 5's multiplayer modes. But there was no Rush being mentioned, and some people thought that that word "some" in that tweet there meant that Rush would return later. I think I heard as well a DICE developer talking about that we could see Rush return later in the Battlefield 5 life cycle. I think other people thought that some meant the new Battle Royale mode that would come out later, but regardless of how you see it, the point is that Rush is not going to be there at launch, which is pretty interesting in my opinion, considering that at least I think Rush is a pretty iconic game for Battlefield. So again, seeing it not there is pretty interesting, and I do hope that DICE is taking in consideration the fact that the lower player count that Rush experienced in Battlefield 1 wasn't necessarily due to people liking other games, but more to do with the fact they lowered that player count from it once being those larger player battles to only a 12 versus 12 battle. And I know players like me are not going to want to play those smaller, player-based game modes, because one of the big reasons why I play Battlefield is because of those large player battles. So I'm going to, flock more to, Operations Conquest, and even Frontlines isn't all too bad. A little bit smaller if you might want it to be less chaotic, and some people might even say that the game mode itself keeps it as chaotic as Operations, just because you have those one territory you're trying to capture instead of it being like two on Operations or being spread out more on Conquest. But regardless, I just feel like I hope they take that in consideration, that they lowered the player count, and that was probably the main reason why Rush has been kind of a dead game mode on Battlefield 1. So I do hope they take that consideration, even though I'm pretty flexible on the game modes I play, as long as they have a larger player count. For those who really only like the Rush game mode, and again, it being there for so long on Battlefield, I feel like, having it not there at launch is a little bit of something I think they probably could have done a bit better on. I think it would have been best to just let the community decide naturally which game mode they're enjoying most, instead of hindering this game mode and changing the player count on it. So people who, like me, really want to play larger game modes aren't really going to flock to a smaller game mode like Rush. I think they should have left it alone, let the player count choose, and if it dies naturally, it dies naturally. Instead, you and I have to look at it and wonder, did it really die naturally, or did it die because DICE changed the player count? So that will be, left to kind of an unknown. I'm still leaning on the fact I think more people would be playing Rush if it was at least a 32 player 16 versus 16 mode, and I think things would be a bit different. But again, it's kind of tough to tell, even though we still lean on that direction. It is nice to know that there are still game modes that are very similar to this. Like when you look at Airborne looks very similar to a Rush type of style. The only difference is you're kind of spawning in through being parachuted into the map, but you're still going after something where you have to destroy a target. You do have to pick up a bomb in this case to do it, so it's not like necessarily you running up to a telegraph like it was in Battlefield 1. But again, you see my point, very similar, and that's again another reason why I'm sure DICE doesn't want to have Rush in there, because again, they feel like it's too similar, and I can understand that as well. Again, it's not much a big deal to me. I think it's just would be a bigger deal to other Battlefield players who really do enjoy Rush. And I see that time over and over again, seeing players who talk about they haven't played Battlefield 1, they come back, they want to play Rush, and they've had all these iconic memories on it, and then they're finding out it's not populated, and then it's not going to be there at all. And I think when it's one of those game modes that is very iconic to your franchise, I think you want to keep it there as long as possible, even if it dies naturally and people don't have it there. Just leave it there and let the community figure it out. Again, I'm not the DICE developers. I don't have all of the telemetry they're getting, all the information. You know, so maybe I'm missing something really big here, but I don't know. I kind of like to let the community naturally figure things out and give them the option to choose, especially when it sees, you know, game modes that have been established for the community. But that's my take on that. You guys can feel free to let me know how you guys think about this in the comments below. But let's get on to some Frontlines game mode, which is a game mode that I think, you know, probably hurt Rush a little bit more. I think if they didn't have Frontlines be as of a hit as it was in BF1, we probably would have had Rush. But because of that, you know, I think that's kind of what another thing to make it more difficult for Rush to be there. But still rocking the machine pistol, though I've been slowly questioning if I want to keep using it as much as I've been loving it lately. It's reminding me a lot like the shotgun, and the fact that because you have these single, and even though you have a double fire mode for it, the fact that you don't have much ammo with it, and if you're playing on servers where, you know, people have high ping and you just can't hit the person, you end up running out of shots really quick and you have to reload, and then you're pretty much screwed, you know. So I'm almost might have to drop the weapon out again because of the fact that, yeah, if you can't hit your shots for some reason, you know, you're gonna be in trouble. And it feels like I just shooting people point blank range and I'm not getting my kills. So it's a little bit tough. I think it's a little bit of the unfortunate factor that, you know, Battlefield's population has been, you know, dying for like a while now, and, you know, sometimes I have to play in obscured hours, and, you know, you have to get on servers that aren't the best for me. But this is how it rolls. Still got to make something happen. I am excited though for Battlefield 5 because of, you know, at least for those first couple months, the population, you know, is going to spike very high. You're going to have a large player base. It's just a question if EA DICE can continue that, and that's what I'm hoping, and I think they're going to be able to do with the fact that they're not going to have all the paid DLC and all that type of stuff. So I think they're going to do much better than Battlefield 1, regardless of how the mechanics or everything else is. I don't think they're doing anything too crazy where it's going to affect it so bad. But that's, again, just my opinion. I think, again, the bigger thing was them not having the huge DLC, you know, pay-to-play system that they have going on. So I think that will keep the population pretty well, because every time you do see DICE bring in like a free DLC, those maps for those go right up. Like, it took me forever to find certain maps before when they weren't, you know, free for everyone. But the moment it was like free to play days or something like that, you'd watch it easily. You could find it. So again, that could be just some advertisement during that day, but I think it has to do a little bit with the actual population count. But trying to hold them off here as we were able to push them all the way back. We were able to get one of their telegraphs, but I don't know what happened over here. I was for sure thought we were able to get the second one, but for some reason, yeah, we end up not getting the second telegraph. You'll see coming up here in a second, as they were able to hold us off there from that first push, where we got one of their telegraphs, and we have to recap the sector right before their home sector. I'm just going to try to hold them off as best as I can. I really do like it when they run right down that trench area, when I'm able just to pick them off. There's really no place for them to go. I'm going to drop some more smoke, give myself some more cover, and able to get away from this one just enough, and throw some dynamite right here. Get, like, I think a double kill, just enough to hold them back, or a triple kill. That was helpful. And then, yeah, just going to hold down this little passageway. Pick off the players who are bayonet charging all the way through, which I don't know, I always still get a kick out of whenever I see someone who's like bayonet charging and screaming in. Definitely not immersed for some reason when I hear the bayonet charge come in, even though in real life that was definitely probably a very intense moment. But here's the situation right here where I am was convinced we were going to grab the telegraph, so I was just going to flank on the side and make sure, you know, that no one was able to push up from the trenches over to my right. I threw 2 dynamites in there, no one showed up, so I was like, well, we got players in here. I'm just gonna push up over here as I see a player trying to push through that little trench area. But I guess while I'm being focused over here, my teammates are staying right there by the telegraph, and someone probably threw in a dynamite. Probably this guy right here, who I couldn't really finish my kill off. And then I had to blast him with my gasser, then I knew I was dead, so I just ran in here and melee this guy really quick. But yeah, they were able to stop us from getting their telegraph and getting the win on that part. But I'm not really sure how many we've captured. So, you know, I do know you can get a draw in this game, but you can also, you know, win if you have more of those captured flags. So I'm hoping that we have more captured flags than they do. Not really knowing, haven't been really keeping count. I don't play much of Frontlines, so I don't really have all the, you know, little strats that I have down like I would on like Conquest or maybe even Operations. But again, it is again interesting to get back on the whole rush topic. How modes like this have again pushed rush a little bit further down. I imagine that if they are going to include rush later, it will be for the Grand Operations game mode. It seems like they want to move in pieces to the different quote-unquote days that they're having for the game mode, and just kind of trying to mix it up a little bit and always keep it fresh. And I would imagine that they could return a very pure form of rush for one of those quote-unquote days that you would experience on this Grand Operations game mode. But that's basically it for you guys today. Again, I always appreciate you guys being here. Somehow couldn't get the win, just barely on this one. But again, always appreciate you guys being here. I am Livin', and I'll catch you guys again later. Peace.